A pleasant good morning to residents of St. Lucia and St. Lucians living abroad. Thank you so much for tuning into the COVID-19 Response Command Center broadcast. We are live from the studios of the Government Information Services in Point Seraphin. My name is Jessie Leonce. Welcome. I want to first apologize for not having the interview with the Acting Commissioner of Police, Milton Daisy, and a representative from the Marine Police Unit yesterday. He was engaged in several meetings. As you would imagine, it's a very busy time for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, but I will promise that we are currently rescheduling and will provide you with an update on the matter of the boat that was seized and the persons who are now being sought after in St. Lucia who allegedly entered the country illegally. We now want to go into some notices, some important notices as it relates to the national shutdown. Essential services, notice under Schedule 1 as of April 1st. Financial services only online. So financial services in terms of making transactions, you can make these transactions online via your bank or lending institutions' platforms, websites. Electricity, water, production operations, repairs, and maintenance are in full operation right now. I want to emphasize that the supermarkets are closed. The supermarkets like Massey, these supermarkets are closed. However, mini marts and community small shops, they have some minimal operations ongoing right now to meet the need for persons who were, as I continue to mention, were caught off guard by the Prime Minister's announcement of the national shutdown. If they choose, they can open on the following days. So the government of St. Lucia, the Office of the Prime Minister, has allowed for minimal operations. If these mini marts or community small shops choose, they can open on Thursday, that is today, April 2nd, from 6 a.m. to 12 noon, and on Monday, April 6th, from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. So as of this week, between now and Saturday, Sunday, you have the opportunity to get some much needed supplies if you have your family home, your household, to make sure you're topped up on essentials for your home. You have the opportunity to do that now from 6 a.m. to 12 o'clock this afternoon. So also bakeries are also under minimal operations. If they choose, the government of St. Lucia has allowed them to open on the following days: Thursday, April 2nd, that is today, from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. That is, bakeries can open today from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. So bakeries in the communities, bakeries can open and persons can get fresh bread and pastries if they do need so for their families. And again, if you need bakery services, if you need bread, you can also get it on Monday, April 6th, from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we just want to get that information out. We know it is a national shutdown, but the government of St. Lucia is trying to be as accommodating as possible under the circumstances. Persons who are still waiting for the supplies from Nemo, persons who are just don't know what to do, they need supplies, and it's more extensive than just a few groceries. Some persons may need a tank of gas, etc. You have the opportunity to go out to the mini marts, the community small shops. So we don't have major operations ongoing in the country right now, but in your community, if you have a shop, if you're operating a small business in your community, you're selling essential items, you can open your shop from 6 a.m. to 12 o'clock this afternoon to accommodate the people in that particular community. In terms of sanitation and solid waste, there will be no collection of bulky waste with one waste collection per community. So there will be no collection of bulky waste. There will be one waste collection per community. I will be providing you with information about the sanitation. I understand that the St. Lucia Solid Waste Management, they have put out a statement. I will be providing you with that shortly. Also, wholesalers and delivery activity, also under minimal operations. If they choose to, and upon request, they can restock small shops and mini marts on Friday, April 3rd, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that is to accommodate when these mini marts and community shops reopen on Monday from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. Farming, if you had joined our broadcast yesterday, we sat down with the Minister for Agriculture and he gave some insight into what is happening within the agriculture industry. Farmers are allowed to maintain their farms from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. I repeat, farmers are allowed to maintain their farms from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. Gas and petrol station, minimal operations for essential service providers and NEMO passes only. So if you are not an essential service provider, if you do not have a NEMO volunteers or NEMO pass, you will not be served with petrol at the gas station. The petrol stations below will be open daily from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. Cool Breeze in Soufrière, Southern Taxi in Vieux-Fort, the #1 service station in Vieux-Fort, Ken service station in Micoud, North-South petrol station on Chaussee Road, Castries, and Super Serve petrol station in Bois de Wange, Gros-Soleil. I will repeat those stations. The Cool Breeze in Soufrière, Southern Taxi in Vieux-Fort, #1 service station in Vieux-Fort, Ken service station in Micoud, North-South petrol station on Chaussee Road, Castries, and Super Serve petrol station in Bois de Wange, Gros-Soleil. So if you are a NEMO, you have a NEMO pass and you're also an essential service provider, then you can access petrol from these stations. Moving on, we want to give some information with regard to the clinical support that the Ministry of Health is now providing. And there's a list of numbers that you can contact. It is on our Facebook page. If you just scroll below, further below our live broadcast right now, you will see a list of clinical support numbers that you can contact if you feel that you're not well or you want some more information with regard to COVID-19. They can provide you with that information. As well as a psychological support. The Ministry of Health is also providing this. The number you can call is 722-6575, as well as 518-4157. And speaking of psychological support, we have in studio today the Director of the Division of Human Services. She is also on the Stress Management Resource Team for NEMO, Miss Beverly Poyotte. Good morning, Ms. Poyotte. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Jesse. Thank you for the opportunity to be here again today.
Wonderful. I just want to hand over to Ms. Poyotte to provide you with some information. If you go through your social media platforms, you will see a lot of persons complaining that they're so bored, they don't know what to do. They want to go out, they want to be active, they want to do things. So we thought it was important to bring Ms. Poyotte back on set to provide some support for persons who are feeling a little bit low, a little bit down, and that they've been shut in for these 7 days. Ms. Poyotte, I pass on over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse. Good morning to our listeners and to our viewers out there. It is indeed my pleasure to be back here to provide this kind of support to you. I think that it is safe to say that we are all going through this together, and regardless of what area it is we are in, whether we are at home and have been at home, whether like some of us we are out still working, there are a lot of issues. There are issues of anxiety, there are issues of fear, there are issues concerning our families, and all of these are normal reactions. However, I just wanted to speak a little bit today about how it is we can cope with any loneliness that we might be feeling during this coronavirus pandemic. We all used to getting out daily. We all used to going about our daily lives. You get up, you have a routine, you go to work, you go to school, or if you're at home, you have your routines at home. For the past few weeks, that has changed. It is important for us as human beings that we have interaction with each other. We are social beings. And what is happening is that the social isolation and the loneliness that we feel now can also lead to other things happening to us. And some of these, the major one would be poor mental health. Okay? Our mental health is something that we really need to take care of. It is important for us to care for our mental health during these times, because that is what is going to keep us going. That is what is going to keep us, in layman's terms, sane. It is normal for us to feel stressed during those times because we are indoors, our routines have changed, and everything has changed for us. So it is for us to feel For us, feeling stressed and feeling lonely is a normal interaction. And some of the factors that could increase our chances of developing mental health issues are things like anxiety and depression. There's also the issue of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what is going to happen, what might happen to us, what might happen to our families who are out there on the front lines working. What might happen to us because, as you've seen in social media, some persons are not adhering to the necessary protocols. What is going to happen because of the whole issue of social distancing? The fact that we cannot physically interact with each other. What is going to happen to those persons who have had to be in isolation, in quarantine for 14 days? How is their mental health faring, holding up? And so let us look at some of the strategies that we can employ. And what I have done is to look at some very simple strategies, things that you can do on an everyday basis, things that will allow you to be connected to other people, to remain connected to other people, and ways of, I'm going to use the word distracting yourselves. In other words, things that you can do to keep busy. The first strategy is to keep a schedule. Yes, you at home and you might be tempted to sleep late or to get up at any time and to just do things in a haphazard way. Keeping a schedule as much as possible is going to keep you on your toes. It will help you to feel as if things are as normal as they can possibly be. So it means waking up at the same time every day and developing a routine in terms of what it is you do at home, how it is you go about doing those things. So in keeping that daily routine, you have some sense of normalcy even if you find that you are at home. That would include, for those of us who have yards, to go out in your yard, take a walk around your yard, so that can become part of your schedule. It will keep symptoms at bay. The second strategy is to stay informed. Now, when I speak about staying informed, there's a lot of information going around. Some of it is good information, some of it is pertinent information. However, some of it, as we all know, is fake news. We also have a lot of memes and a lot of jokes. However, as far as the memes and the jokes, we also have to remember that some of them may be insensitive to those persons who are actually in quarantine, those persons who have actually developed symptoms, and those persons who have been diagnosed. So sometimes, and as much as it may be funny to some of us, to other people, it may actually be offensive. And so I urge you, in terms of sharing these kinds of things, to be vigilant and to be cognizant of who it is you are sharing things with, especially if you are sharing it in a group. Who are the persons in that group? Are there persons in the group who might be offended by some of the things that are shared? Staying informed is important. It is important to have up-to-date information. And as you should know by now, the station that we are at, NTN GIS St. Lucia, is our source for pertinent and relevant information. You can also go to the CDC site or the WHO World Health Organization site, where you will get current and up-to-date information. In terms of just regular social media, I would like to urge people to be, what's the word that I should use? Limit your time on social media. That way, you are not bombarded by all of the things and all of the comments that persons are making on social media. So as far as staying informed is concerned, you have the determination, you make the determination in terms of how much you take in and what exactly it is you take in. The third strategy is to stay active. In as much as we are home, in as much as you are home, physical activity is also very good in order to maintain mental health. So physical activity, whether it is you have a home gym, whether it is you have only a treadmill, it could be a skipping rope, and if you have none of that, you can actually just do push-ups or jumping jacks. You can go on YouTube, you can go to get exercise videos that can be done, or you can simply take a walk in your yard, depending on your mobility. You can go up and down the steps if you have steps in your house, or for those of you who practice some kind of sport, how can you use that sport while you are at home? Sports such as karate, tai chi, and other martial arts, which can be done in a small space. These are very good for maintaining that posture of being active. I would say go for walks within your community. However, at this point, with the national shutdown, that is not advisable. But if and when we do get back to some sense of normalcy, a walk around your community would be something that you can do in order to stay active. The fourth strategy is to do something meaningful. And when I say do something meaningful, one of the things that loneliness can do is to have persons thinking a lot about, what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? What is happening with this coronavirus, which is affecting not just St. Lucia, but the entire world? And so sometimes we see that persons have lost their sense of meaning, lost their sense of purpose. So in terms of doing something meaningful, what I'm speaking about is doing something that is going to give you that edge, that is going to allow you to say, yes, I have accomplished something. We all want to feel like we belong. We belong to groups, we belong to families, we belong to churches. However, the doors of our church buildings have been closed. But do we have a church community that we can still interact with? And so in terms of doing something meaningful, is there an online course that you can do? Is there an area that you've been wanting to research, that you've been wanting to do something? Go online, see what's available. I've recognized that there are lots of free online courses now, some of them just for one day, some of them for a few days. Is there anything that you might be interested in doing? For persons in management, for persons who are supervisors, is there any outstanding work that you had on your desk that you can possibly do while you are at home? Writing up of proposals, these kinds of things. Is there a new area that you want to study? Is there, for those who have children at home, in terms of tutoring your children at home, there's online schooling going on. How can you as parents or as guardians actually become part of that and to do it in a way that is very, that is going to be teaching a learning lesson, a learning experience, not just for the children, but for you as well. The fifth strategy is to connect with others. You can connect with family and friends. Although we cannot do it in the traditional ways, we now have to be creative in terms of how we connect with friends. Connect with friends that you have not spoken to in a very long time. Persons that you went to school with, your class of 1979, your class of 1985. Do you have a chat group? Are there individual persons in those groups whom you were close to? Your college friends, your work colleagues, somebody you met at a conference in another island. Have you connected with them? What's happening in the other islands, in the other countries? Form new groups, new WhatsApp groups, things with persons whom you have similar interests. So that way you remain connected, and the conversations that you are having are conversations that are actually interesting and conversations that are going to keep your mind active. Okay? I would say send handwritten letters or postcards, but again, with our services being closed, that is not something that we can do at this point, but it is something that you can probably keep in mind. Just imagine going to the post office when it reopens and finding a card from somebody from the US whom you hadn't spoken to in such a long time. Just imagine the feeling that you would have. Call somebody on the telephone, the elderly, the sick and shut in, especially your friends of your parents and friends of the elderly people that you take care of. A telephone call would be something that I'm sure they would appreciate. Going online, I've spoken a little bit about that. Signing up for online forums, joining or participating in Facebook groups, playing games online with multiplayers, but things, of course, that are going to keep your mind active, things that are going to keep you excited about what it is you are doing. The sixth strategy is to find sources of comfort, to comfort ourselves, to self-soothe, as we say in the psychological field. We can do things at home, like give yourself a manicure or a pedicure, give yourself a foot massage. You don't need to have a foot spa. A basin of warm water with some Epsom salts, and you soak your feet. That can be very comforting. And at the same time, you are engaging in some self-care activities. For those who have a bathtub, take a bath. Fill it with bubble bath, fill it with something with scented oils, light a candle while you are at home. If you're working from home, the scent of the candle would help in maintaining your mental health. For those who like to cook, and I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook of people baking bread and sharing their recipes, that actually is an excellent way of finding comfort, because you're now sharing with other people, you're doing something, you're keeping active, so it actually covers a number of the strategies. For some persons, watching your favorite TV show, I've heard some people say, oh, I've watched everything on Netflix. But if you do it in a systematic way, is there a theme to what it is you're watching, or are you just watching TV randomly? That way, you can assist yourself in maintaining that sense of balance. Ensure, as far as your comfort is concerned, that even while you're at home, you wear comfortable clothes. Maintain a healthy sleep pattern. If you find that your sleep is interrupted at night, whether it is because of your fears or your anxieties, take a nap during the day. Even if you don't sleep, but at least lie down and take a nap, because your physical body needs to be rejuvenated. Your physical body needs to be healthy for your mental stability, for your mental capacity to remain healthy as well. Strategy number 7, create something. Create something new. Express yourself through creative means. All of us are not creative beings, but we can try. And you might very well learn that you have some hidden talent that you never knew before. Being creative can also be a form of meditation for some persons, because in order to be creative, you need to focus on what it is you are doing. So several ways that you can be creative. You can do art projects. You can do, whether it is through painting, whether it is through something that is pre-prepared, such as a color by numbers, whether it is by going back to the crafts that we learned as children, things like crochet and knitting, whether it is simply doing an adult coloring book, using an adult coloring book, or doing word puzzles, seek and find. If you want to learn something new, say you can go on YouTube and learn how to do origami, something that you've never done before. Now you might say you don't have the materials at home. There again, you can become creative in terms of looking to see what it is that you have at home, how you can repurpose, how you can use things differently, not just in the way that it was originally intended to be used. Writing projects. One of my personal favorites is practice writing a journal daily. So as part of your routine, which I spoke about earlier, journal writing. So in journal writing, that allows you to be able to express how it is you are feeling. So you can also take up a new hobby in terms of calligraphy and start your day. You can either start your day with journaling, end your day with journaling, or for some of us, it can be multiple times a day. Home projects. Choose a space in your home that you can clean, that you can change, that you can modify, redecorate, move things around so that it becomes interesting, it becomes exciting. Things like gardening projects that you had to do Now is a good time to go out there and get that going. And of course, cooking, which I've already spoken about. I think we are ready for a break now, Ms. Leos?
Yes, we are. We have so much more information, of course, coming up for you in this broadcast. Soon we will have the Minister and MP, the Honorable Guy Joseph, sitting in with us. I also want to provide some updates and clarity with regard to the 311 hotline. I think a lot of people are getting the information a bit mixed up, so we want to provide some clarity. And we also visited the NEMO office, so we have a story coming up for you with regard to that. Much more coming up after this very short break. Do stay tuned.
Personal risk reduction is important. Germs are everywhere, and you can reduce your risk of infection by practicing some basic infection control measures. Taking the stairs, avoid touching the railing. If taking the elevator, ensure you use hand sanitizer immediately after exiting the elevator. Hand sanitizers with 60% or more alcohol are great to use, so have some readily available on your desk for quick use. Have your own personal bottle to carry with you when away from running water and soap. Germs can spread easily and be anywhere. Be sure to wipe down or disinfect desks, telephones, and keyboards. Washing your hands often will reduce the spread of germs, but you must wash them as recommended. Masks and gloves serve a purpose and provide protection when used in the recommended settings and when used correctly. They are not practical for the office or business place and can lead to the further spread of germs when used badly. Use only if you are coughing and or sneezing or taking care of someone who is ill with flu-like symptoms. For more information, call the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 468-5347, 468-5349, or 468-5350.
Welcome back. This is the COVID response desk at the command center. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We're coming to you live from the studios of the Government Information Service. We have in studio Beverly Poyotte, and she is the director of the Division of Human Services. She's also on the Stress Management Resource Team from NEMO, and she was just speaking on giving some pointers on how to deal with stress management, dealing with the psychological effects of having to stay in. So I will go back to her just in 1 minute, but as I mentioned before we went to break, we need to provide some clarity on the 311 hotline. We got some reports that persons were saying when they call the 311 hotline, they're being asked to call NEMO directly instead for relief packages. To clarify, you call the 311 hotline to provide your name, your specific address, if it is you're living down a dirt road or a particular color house, whatever it is, you provide that specific information as well as your contact information so that the 311 hotline can now provide that information to NEMO. When it comes to the distribution of the packages, if you want a follow-up of the distribution of the package, they will instruct you to call NEMO itself. But it remains that you call 311, the 311 hotline. We had a representative from the Ministry of Health yesterday emphasizing that you call the 311 hotline if you would like a relief package during this 7-day shutdown. So you call 311, you provide your name, your address, your specific address information, and your contact information, and they will pass it on over to NEMO. If you're calling back to follow up, then you can they will instruct you to call NEMO directly for distribution information. I hope I provided some clarity there for persons out there who are waiting, who continue to wait on their relief packages. We have a story on NEMO in just a moment, but we just want to wrap up with Ms. Poyotte, who is here from the Stress Management Resource Team at NEMO, to give some information, to wrap up her information with regard to stress management during this time. Ms. Poyotte?
Thank you, Jesse. And I do hope listeners and viewers that the information that I've provided so far, that it has been beneficial to you. So we were looking at some strategies in terms of what it is you can do, how it is you can remain active during this period of our shutdown. So strategy number 8 is to distract yourself. And when I say distract yourself, we're talking about healthy distractions, things that are going to allow you to maintain balance. And I think I should have mentioned earlier, when we're speaking really here about mental health, but it's important for us to recognize that our mental health is also dependent on our physical health. We as beings, we have the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and the spiritual aspect. And it is important for us to have a balance of all three of those in order for us to maintain, to have that holistic kind of health that we are talking about. So in terms of distracting yourself, we can do a lot of reading. Go back and read some books that you had not read before. If you have children, reading to them is a way that you as an adult can also get engaged. Engage yourself in a book club. There are online book clubs, or even a book club with friends within a regular WhatsApp group. Give yourself a reading challenge. How many books can you read? What about when you read the book, doing a book report? What it is that I learned from this book? And I'm not just talking about novels or any such thing. We can actually read things that are edifying, that are not just stories. So we can also listen to audiobooks. I know that that is one of the things that is that if you don't have the physical book, we can go on to Audible and different websites, and we can actually do audible books. Again, in terms of watching TV, are we just watching movies, or are we watching things that are of an educational nature, documentaries, things within the field that you work in, or things that are of interest to you? For the more creative persons, this is a good time to write songs, to write poems, and to actually get yourself active in the craft and in the industry that you that is related to your interests. Other fun ideas might be if you can do a virtual tour of different areas, maybe a museum, someplace that you have always wanted to visit. Is there a virtual tour of that place? And it actually makes you feel as if you are in that place. Strategy number 9, planning for the future. In as much as right now we are living in a situation which is very fluid, day to day things change. However, it is still important for us to plan for the future. As you maintain your normal routines, you make plans for the future in terms of things that you want to do and things that you would like to focus on. A personal favorite of mine is to set goals. And you set those goals with targets and even possible timelines. So if, for example, one of my earlier strategies was to do something online, do a new course, how much time are you going to give yourself to do that? By when would you like to complete that? If, for example, you've decided you want to do a certificate program or a bachelor's degree, what is the timeline that you have given yourself to do that? Plan an event for after this is all over. You may have a birthday of a child, a birthday of a loved one, or your own birthday, or some activity, or just a get-together, so that you can actually start planning that, so that after all is said and done, when we get out of this thing, you actually have a plan in place. Strategy number 10. This one is extremely important. Practice self-compassion. A lot of times we beat up on ourselves and we say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that way, I shouldn't be feeling that way. But as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the feelings that we have, whether they are feelings of anxiety, feelings of loneliness or fear, all of these emotions are normal emotions. What is important is that we acknowledge all of these emotions, we acknowledge all of those feelings, and we find ways to deal with them. If we don't acknowledge it, that is when it can fester and lead to other mental health illnesses. But by acknowledging them, we are saying, yes, I recognize that this is how I feel, I recognize this is what is happening to me, and now I'm going to find some way in which I can deal with it. One of the ways of practicing self-compassion is by meditation, practicing guided meditation. Okay? There's a simple breathing exercise that you can do. You sit with your back straight, your feet squarely on the ground, your hands on your thighs. When you do that, you put yourself in a happy place. Think of some place that you like to be. And maybe you can practice it with me as I'm saying it. So your feet are flat on the ground, your back is straight, and your palms, the palms of your hand are down on your thighs. Think of some place that you like to be, in a park, at a beach, taking a hike, someplace that is calming and soothing and relaxing for you. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you are there. Once you get there, I want you to take a deep breath in, fill your lungs, and feel that your stomach is rising as you fill your lungs. So you take a deep breath in, and then you release that breath through your mouth. You do this several times while you continue to think of yourself being in that happy place. Once you have started to feel relaxed, you can open your eyes, and then you recognize that for most people, you would feel a lot better. This is a very simple exercise that you can do anywhere. You can do it at home, you can do it at work, you can do it sitting on a bus. And so by doing that very simple breathing exercise, what you have done is allowed more oxygen to enter into your bloodstream. And by doing that, it helps to clear up your mind, to clear up your thoughts, and to allow you to have that level of self-compassion that I spoke about. As far as compassion is concerned, you can also show compassion to others. You are feeling lonely, but you're not the only one. Many people around you are feeling the same way. And by reaching out and offering help to others who are feeling lonely and displaced would allow you now to feel a sense of helping somebody. And it also shows that you are not alone, that we are all in this together. So being supportive and offering words of encouragement to others is extremely important. Self-compassion is understanding yourself and your feelings and recognizing that during this period, all of your feelings are normal and that you are not the only one who feels that way. Family and community. I need to say something to family members and community members. It is also very important for us to recognize that whatever it is we're feeling, can we imagine how the persons who have been diagnosed and the persons who have had to be in quarantine may be feeling in terms of some kind of stigma that is attached to just the fact that they were there. It is important for us to recognize that they too have similar feelings and probably more than us, and that we need to be compassionate with them. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are just a few of the tips that I wanted to present to you today in terms of how it is you can cope with feelings of loneliness. We will continue to do this as the days and the weeks go by. We will look at different categories, different maybe strategies that we can use. And as Ms. Leos said earlier, there are a couple of numbers that you can call in order to receive psychosocial support, and I will repeat these two numbers. One of the numbers is 722-6575, and the other number is 518-4157. Again, as time goes by, we will be getting some other numbers up so that we would have a few more numbers in order for you to be able to call and get some help over the phone. So I would like to wish you a pleasant day, and I wish that you would employ some of these strategies in order that we can all remain physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy during our period of staying at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Poyotte, Ms. Beverly Ann Poyotte from the Division of Human Services. They're providing us with psychosocial information, helping us cope during this time. It can be stressful for many people. I heard you mention about the quarantine. You know, something you don't think about off the bat, that there may be persons who are concerned, perhaps feeling ashamed. How do they reintegrate? This weekend, we have the first batch of persons who will be cleared coming out of quarantine, and we want to be able to provide as much support to people as possible. Also, you may be feeling a certain type of ways about, being inside, but there are some persons who are in much more, crazy predicaments than some of us out here. So just to be considerate of others and to self-compassion.
Yes.
Self-compassion, boost our own, sense of self during this time right now. So again, Ms. Beverly Ann Poyotte, thank you so much for sitting with us and providing us with this information. I really do appreciate it. We now have a notice, thank you. We now have a notice coming from the Ministry, the Department of Health and Wellness, and I will read out this press release for you. Availability of pharmacy services during the 24-hour shutdown. The Department of Health and Wellness informs the public that during the 24-hour shutdown from Wednesday, April 1st to Saturday, April 7th, 2020, pharmacy services will be available at the various wellness centers and hospitals based on a schedule. The schedule for pharmacy services at the wellness centers and hospitals are as follows. Wednesday, April 1st, that was yesterday, the Polyclinic at Grosley was opened, Babonneau Wellness Center, Castries Wellness Center, Dennery Hospital, and Soufrière Hospital. Today, Thursday, April 2nd, 2020, the Grosley Polyclinic is also opened again, Babonneau Wellness Center, Castries Wellness Center, Bexon Wellness Center, Dennery Hospital, and the Soufrière Hospital. On Friday, that is tomorrow, if you need to get anything from the pharmacy, the following pharmacies will be opened tomorrow. April 3rd, Grosley Polyclinic, the Babonneau Wellness Center, the Castries Wellness Center, the Bexon Wellness Center, the Ancillary Wellness Center, the Dennery Hospital, and the Soufrière Hospital. If you would like to if you want pharmacy services on Monday and Tuesday, you can access the Grosley Polyclinic, Babonneau Wellness Center, Castries Wellness Center, Bexon Wellness Center, Ancillary Wellness Center, and the Dennery Hospital, and the Soufrière Hospital as well. On Tuesday, the Grosley Polyclinic will be opened, the Babonneau Wellness Center will be opened, Castries Wellness Center, Bexon Wellness Center, the Ancillary Wellness Center, the Canaries Wellness Center, the Dennery Hospital, and the Soufrière Hospital. So just something to note. I will repeat this notice in a few minutes so that persons who have not heard or persons who would be just joining the broadcast would also hear of the availability of pharmacy services during this 24-hour shutdown. We have the Minister of Economic Development, Housing, Urban Renewal, Transport and Civil Aviation coming on in just a moment. That is the Honorable Minister, Guy Joseph. But in the meantime, we want to bring you some news from the offices of NEMO. NEMO currently is preparing to send out, or they may have begun sending out their relief packages. I can't confirm that right now, but they are preparing to send out their packages. We have some shots of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps and other volunteers at NEMO working assiduously yesterday to get all of the staples together to prepare this relief package. We see persons putting together rice, flour, and other supplies to ensure that the persons who are really in need island-wide are able to get it. So while we have some community shops and we have, these small convenience shops here and there that are open for persons who do have the money right now to make purchases, if you do not, and you've already made the application for your relief package, this is happening on the ground. Persons are working very hard to make sure that these packages can get out in a timely manner. We have a statement, well, we did an interview with the director of NEMO, Ms. Doreen Gustav, and we also spoke to Mr. Nathan Hyacinth. He is the head of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, and he's also in charge of the supplies that are the national supply of food and the national supply of food that is right now being put together for persons in need. So we're going to go back to back with these two clips right now to provide more information on what is happening at NEMO.
What we've done here today is we've gotten all the items that were necessary to complete a basket of goods for our vulnerable. So through the Ministry of Equity, we got that list and we have gotten the items and we're packaging them as you speak for delivery.
Okay. So after packaging, what would distribution look like?
Okay. So we're working also with Equity through their welfare officers. They are the ones who have the list of the vulnerable. So the persons on the public assistance program, the persons on Code Settlisi, they are also the children with disability that are on this program also with Equity. They have forwarded the list for us, or the numbers, and so we're packaging and they are distributing for that group of persons. We also have a group of persons who probably have the funds, but they did not have time to make the groceries and have these items at home. So they are the ones calling the 311 line and leaving the information. So we'll use that information in order to distribute to them. We're also working with our district disaster committees who are established in communities, and they too will be assisting us with the distribution of the goods at their various communities.
Okay, so how long, just to conclude, do you think the rollout time would be? And how soon do you think households can start to receive some kind of relief?
Okay, we're hoping that we will complete some this evening, and so we can start the distribution into tomorrow morning or throughout the day tomorrow as far as we can reach.
Okay, can you speak to the support in terms of where the food items coming from? I've heard some philanthropy in terms of hotels also donating food and businesses. Can you speak to that, or is that even true?
So I know most of the items have come from the government warehouse. We have a few other agencies, businesses that have, one in particular called, now the name evades me, I can't remember right now,
Okay.
called to say that they have some milk and yogurt that they have distributed, and I don't want to go there because I can't remember the name of the organization. So you can scrap that for me.
So just to wrap up, just a concluding message for St. Lucians, and especially the vulnerable, and let them know the role NEMO is playing right now to basically help and, allay our fears and anxiety.
Before that, I wanted to say that we have collaborated with a number of agencies to get these packages together. We have our cadets who are always here. They're part of our supplies committee. The head of the supplies committee is Colonel Hyacinth, and he has brought together his all of the guys who work with him. Cadets, and they always the heavy lifters. They are the ones assisting us with the packaging, lifting the bags of rice, flour, sugar, whatever it is that they have there for distribution. We also have our district disaster committees who are on board assisting us. We have persons from the tourism industry. We have persons from community who have come here to ensure that this effort is successful. To conclude, I would like to inform the public that at NEMO we are ensuring that no one is left hungry, and so throughout that 7-day period that we're on lockdown, We are providing for the vulnerable, those persons who are in need, those persons who didn't have the time to get the shopping. Some of them, because of where they work and how they work, they never got the time. They may not be that poor and vulnerable group, but at this moment they are vulnerable to us. And so we want to ensure that they have something to go by for that 7-day period.
Right, as instructed by the Prime Minister, we are now receiving supplies, packaging those supplies in order to get ready for distribution tomorrow. So today we're in the process of repacking at least 10,000 bags of 2 pounds of flour, rice and sugar. The other items should be coming up later, other grocery items, which we intend to do tonight, and hopefully to get those things distributed tomorrow.
Okay, so what is it that you'd like to let St. Lucians know, especially as you know we're waiting, etc. And
well, I would like persons to continue to heed to the advice of stay home and keep themselves and their families healthy. I know that a number of persons who probably did not have any of the grocery items, and this is why the volunteers are here. The Cadet Corps, as a voluntary organization and as the organization who is responsible for the supplies committee, we are here assisting in putting those items together. So they are putting themselves at risk, and we're asking you to not add too much risk to that. And whilst we are bagging, we'll be distributing some of the items tomorrow together with the district disaster committees, and we're asking you to give them that opportunity to see how best that we can serve you. Okay. It is a tedious task from this afternoon going into tonight, and we'll be spending as much time as possible tonight to try to get this thing sorted out. And again, we would like to thank you for your patience, and we hope that you would be satisfied at the end. And stay indoors, because the supplies are meant so that you don't have to come out and that you will always stay inside. So we're hoping best that you can all do that, and we will all be happy and safe.
A message there coming from the National Emergencies Management Organization, Mr. Nathan Hyacinth, the head of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, as well as Ms. Doreen Gustav, the director of NEMO, giving an update on the work that is happening at NEMO to ensure that persons who are strapped right now at their homes or their households can get some relief supplies in the shortest possible time. Just a reminder, the essential services, mini-marts and community small shops, the government of St. Lucia is providing minimal operations. If they choose to open, they can open on the following days. That is today, Thursday, April 2nd, from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. So if you have cash on hand, you are able to go out to those mini marts and community small shops. You can go. But one thing that I would like to stress on, we strongly encourage that even though you go to the mini marts and you go to the community small shops, we strongly encourage that you exercise, you maintain social distancing. We're getting quite a few reports of persons disregarding this order, which is, by the way, under the Emergency Powers Act. You are instructed to maintain social distancing due to this coronavirus threat. We want to reduce we want to minimize the rate of transmission. So if you do go out, please respect the 3 feet separation, and we want you to just keep as far away from the next person in front of you. We don't want cramped queues. We don't want crowds. It is not helping the situation at all. It defeats the purpose of the national shutdown, and we hope that everybody can comply and be able to assist us in that regard. We want to reduce the rate of transmission. So it does not mean if the community shops, the gas stations, the bakeries are open that we just go crowding. We really want to encourage persons to maintain social distancing. The national shutdown is there for a reason. We're just trying to provide some accommodation to persons who were caught off guard by this national shutdown announced by the Prime Minister. We want to maintain this, ensure that you stay away, and even when you get back home to reduce the rate of transmission. We have our kids, we have our families. We don't want anybody to fall sick. We don't want anybody to fall ill by this very deadly virus, and not to spread any panic. This is not the intention at all. The Prime Minister has had to chide some members of the general public for not complying and not adhering to the rules. We want you to stay safe. We want your family to stay safe. So when you do get home from the community shop or the mini mart, when you do get home, take the necessary precautions. Wash your hands, remove the clothes that you use. Take all of those these measures to ensure that you and your family are safe. I want to reiterate the 311 hotline clarity. It has been circulating on social media that persons are calling the 311 hotline and they're being told to call